Today we're doing a little review of the Freewell Variable ND and Mist filters, both the 2 to 5 stops and the 6 to 9 stop filter. I used both filters over the past 2 weeks pretty much every time when I was filming, so I would say let's start this video by showing you a little sequence with the results I got. Okay, there you could see what these filters can do, so you definitely recognize the mist effect, I guess, in all of those videos. It's like in the highlights when you see that they are a bit softer. I personally really like this effect. I think in some shots it's probably a bit strong, but in most shots it looks pretty good. So how do you like this mist effect? Let me know in the comments below. And I usually don't use ND filters in my videos because I'm very good at breaking them, so I usually use way too high shutter speeds and therefore I don't have natural motion blur. So let me also know in the comments below if you recognize that there is more motion blur in those shots and in my previous videos, because I figured out over all these years that I do YouTube videos that most people actually don't care about it. But I must definitely say that I love the footage that I got with those filters, at first because of the mist effect. It really looks beautiful in most of the shots, and also, let's be honest, having motion blur definitely looks better than not having motion blur, even if I usually don't use it. But just looking at the footage alone doesn't tell us much about the quality of those filters. I also want to know if they add a tint to the image and if there is vignetting going on, because that are common problems, especially from variable ND filters. So I prepared a little test here at my ultra professional sound treating wall, like a white blanket that I attached there, and it works for sound treatment, but it also works to see if there is a tint in the image or not. So let's switch to that test and see how they perform. Just to mention that here, I shot all of those tests at 17mm on the Tamron 17 to 28mm with a Sony a7S III, so definitely a wide angle to make it hard for it. So if you zoom in a bit more, you would likely get less vignetting. So in the test of the 2 to 5 stop filter, I can definitely tell that it makes the image a little bit warmer, especially in the bottom right corner. There was a little bit of yellow stuff going on, so it's not perfect, and I recognized it a little bit when I color graded my footage, because I often matched it with my Fujifilm X-T4, where I did not have these filters on, and I could definitely tell it was a bit more yellowish than usual, so I had to work myself around there. But overall, it's not a big issue. The footage still comes out very good, and the 6 to 9 stop filter looked definitely a bit better color-wise, but there the vignetting was a lot stronger. Like on the 2 to 5 stops, the vignetting was actually pretty much okay. I didn't really have a big issue with it, even if there is a little bit of vignetting, but on the 6 to 9 stop filter, it got a bit worse, especially when you have it to 9 stops. But to be honest, when would you really use 9 stops? Like, I could not imagine when I would ever use that, so I don't really see it as a problem. I would only recommend a 6 to 9 stop filter if you're oftentimes in a situation where you have a lot of light coming in, because even when I was in normal daylight conditions with a 2 to 5 stop filter, it was all the time enough. And in all of the footage that you saw at the beginning of the video, I only used the 2 to 5 stop filter because it was never necessary to switch to the 6 to 9 one. So this is also what I would recommend here if you're thinking about which of those filters to get a 2.5 one. That's the safe one. And I filmed all this footage on the Sony a7S III, and I used ISO 640 because that's the base ISO of this camera, so there I get the best dynamic range and better color rendition, etc. So I was not even at the darkest ISO setting, and the 2 to 5 stop filter was perfectly fine all the time, so I could even stop down the ISO if I needed darker, and that's also one reason why I think that the 6 to 9 filter is a bit too strong. But I must also say that if you're in the category where you really need to have perfectly accurate colors for clients work, for example, then you would not look for a variable ND filter, then you would usually go for some single ND filters and very high quality one to really preserve all the colors there. So I think that these filters are really good for the people that they are targeted to, and especially at this price point, they are a very good deal. So that's my conclusion here. I hope this was helpful if you're in the decision right now of getting these filters or not. If yes, then leave me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell notifications button for upcoming videos. I publish 1 or 2 times every week, sometimes even 3, so I hope to see you in the next video.